Hi, I'm Mr. Incognito, the poor man's mill masquerist, and you're watching Judo Comics TV.
I'm here today with Dave Goode and Vance Capley of Judo Comics. Glad to have you gentlemen back with us. And before I ask some questions, just want to give you a compliment on that nice shirt, Dave.
Oh, why, thank you. This is our official Dr. Judo shirt that we're now selling. And I had given them out to some friends and stuff to promote the comic book, and their friends wanted their own shirts. So I said, well, gee, let's sell them.
and Dave, what he's talking about here, this beautiful shirt, is available now at teepublic.com. Make sure you look for Dr. Judo versus Gorilla t-shirt. Available at teepublic.com.
There you go, with the radio announcer voice. I'm really liking that. And we both basically have it as a t-shirt. We also have it as a muscle shirt if you have muscles. And I'm not doing that too often because I'm down here in Tennessee, and like an idiot, I decided to do what my namesake Davy Crockett did and wrestle a bear, and the bear got the better of me, so my elbow is killing me.
I have a few questions for you gentlemen today. Two of your characters are masked wrestlers, Dr. Judo and Mr. Incognito. My question is, who are your favorite masked wrestlers?
Oh, geez. I could go on forever about all masked wrestlers, but I'm going to say, let me throw 5 at you so people have an idea. My all-time favorite masked wrestler is Mil Mascaris. I mean, from all reports, he's a jerk in real life, but he epitomizes the similarities between professional wrestling and comic book superheroes. I mean, he has a physique like somebody you'd see in a Gladiator movie. He has those colorful costumes, and then he had an acrobatic wrestling style that something that Captain America or Daredevil would be using to fight crime. So Mil Mascaris is at the top of my list. There'd be El Santo, of course, because El Santo is, if you were to say any wrestler was iconic, it would be El Santo, who was the Johnny Weissmuller of Mexican cinema and the Elvis of professional wrestling. When I say the Elvis of professional wrestling, I mean, you know, Elvis started off as a rock and roll star, singer, and then made the transition to movie stardom, whereas El Santo started off as a professional wrestler and made the transition to movie star. The Destroyer, he was another favorite of mine. As far as the Mexican wrestlers, the Mexalucha Heroes, Blue Demon has to be up there too. And if you ask me why Blue Demon's up there, he just kicks hiney.
He is boss.
I mean, he's the bad bleep of Mexican wrestlers, so he's up there. What's that? That's 4. That's 4. Yeah. The 5th wrestler, masked wrestler. I can go with another Mexalucha hero and Tanables, because he had his own comic book, as did El Santo and Blue Demon, and it was science fiction based, and he had this really cool mask which in some ways was similar to the mask that Bane wore in the Batman comic books. So yeah, those would be those are 5. Let's say those are my top 5.
So my favorite masked wrestlers, of course, there's Blue Demon, because he doesn't really wrestle. He just beats the crap out of everybody on the scene. Dude hits him with a wrench, and he turns around like, "You hit me with a wrench?" And he beats the crap out of him. So.
That's him with the Martian girl. The Mexican version of Mars needs women, only Mars, and this one needs men.
Yeah.
And so the Martian women are kidnapping. But I remember that scene distinctly. We watched it together.
Yes, last year.
And he's fighting, and somebody comes up and back with a wrench or whatever, hits him in the head, and Demon just like Are you kidding? Do you know who I am? And he beats the crap out of the guy. It's great stuff. But I'm sorry.
You're fine. You are fine. I have to pick somebody from the local scene. There was a wrestler called Giant Scorpion, and the dude had to be, from my seat in the arena, he had to be 6'5". The dude was double my size, and I'm a pretty big dude.
Yeah, he's a big dude. You can see that for yourself.
And he wore a yellow and white mask, and he was just going through there, just knocking people down with just moving his arm. And of course, at this point in his career, I found out he was a lot older than everyone else in the arena wrestling. And they would do the little thing in the crowd where they divert everyone. He just lay up against the ropes, and he was so tired. And so I come this close to getting to talk to him, and someone said, well, he doesn't want to talk to anyone about his wrestling days.
Because he was out of breath. That's what the
Well,
real
no,
reason.
because he's an older man now, and he just didn't want to talk about it no more. And I was really I found in my collection a sports card that was given away at a lot of the wrestling matches, and it was of Giant Scorpion. But anyway, he was very powerful. I liked what he did. Also on the local scene, straight out of Memphis back in early 80s, was a guy called the Spoiler. And he wore a black and red mask, and he was a bad guy.
Cool. I knew the Spoiler from wrestling magazines in the 70s when, I was following wrestling back there. And he's one of those masked wrestlers who came to New York and had to unmask simply because there was a law against wearing a mask. And they changed that law because Mil Mascaras was so popular and they wanted him to wrestle the guard, and so they got around the law there. But yeah, I remember the Spoiler, but I remember with the mask from the magazines, and when he got up here wrestling in New York, no mask. So
Right.
That's how I remember him. Both masks.
I know what you mean. I got you.
I remember him most as an unmasked wrestler.
He was the only wrestler who was the bad guy on the Memphis wrestling that I cheered for.
Okay.
He was beating all our favorite wrestlers, and I was like, get him! So there you go.
And he was one of those, another master of the claw.
Yes,
that
yes.
was his thing.
The next two are a tie, and then I'll tell you my first one. But the tie is between Mil and Santo, because I can watch some Mil movies and Santo movies. I have like equal for me, and it's like it just depends on what mood I'm in to watch them. And my first one, of course, is Rey Mysterio Jr. He's brought back the masked wrestler in the United States to super height, and he stepped out of wrestling because he supposedly accidentally killed someone in the ring.
But since he was a little guy, and it seemed like he was constantly being injured, and that's probably the real reason he stepped away.
Exactly. If you watch some of his wrestling matches from when he was in AAA, and also when he was with the WCW, you see him moving at high speeds, great high flight jumps, and just amazing.
He more or less took Mil's acrobatic wrestling style to a whole nother level.
Yeah, 100%.
He and Tiger Mask. Oh, there's somebody I should have mentioned when you
Exactly.
asked my favorites. I should have said Tiger Mask.
Yeah.
But since I didn't,
We'll-
let it go.
sorry.
We'll just let it go.
We're good.
But hey, Tiger Mask is up there as far as I
Tiger
think
Mask is
of masked wrestlers.
Yes.
He's on my list.
Well, now that we know your favorite masked wrestlers, how about what are your favorite wrestling movies?
That's easy. For years, I've referred to Santo versus the Vampire Women. That's the American title for it. I've referred to that for years as the Gone with the Wind of wrestling movies, or masked wrestler movies, or Mexican lucha hero movies. That is high up on my list, but Santo versus the Martian Invasion is also a favorite, and I honestly think if that one had been dubbed into English, like Santo versus the Vampire Woman, it'd be high up on my list too. If Santo versus the Vampire Women is the Gone with the Wind of the genre, then Santo versus the Martian Invasion is the Citizen Kane. I like anything with Mil Mascaras in it. My favorite is the Enigma of Death.
John Carradine's in that, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's one of two movies he made with Mil. In this one, in that particular one, Mil is hunting down these escaped Nazi war criminals, and I love that one. The other one that he made with Carradine, Las Vampiras, or The Vampire Girls, that's a good one. Carradine plays the king of the vampires who has been disposed by some very curvaceous Mexican actresses playing the vampire women. That's a good one.
That's perfect for Carradine to play the vampire again, because he played the
Dracula
himself.
yeah.
Billy the Kid versus Dracula.
Well, I was going to go with House of Dracula
Oh, yeah.
and House of Frankenstein.
Yes.
But yes, I know what you mean, Billy.
Yeah, the time period.
Right, he was Dracula, but I'd rather go with those two than Billy the Kid versus Dracula. Okay.
For me, I'm just going to name off 3, and I'm going to say Santo and the Blue Demon versus the Monsters, and that's the one where they fight Dracula and the Wolfman, if I remember correctly.
Well, they fight Dracula and the Wolfman in Santo and Blue Demon versus Dracula and the Wolfman.
Yeah, but there was another one.
There's a one, like you said, there's Dracula, Santo and Blue Demon versus the Monster, but that one has Dracula, right?
Frankenstein, yeah. So those two movies especially, yeah. And I like Champions of Justice. Obviously, it's the Justice League or Avengers of masked wrestlers. And this last one, a lot of people are going to be like, "Come on, man, that's a cheat." I'm going to go ahead and say it. Nacho Libre. Seriously, that was so much fun to watch, and it was such a parody of the wrestler. Come on now. They got wrestling, you know?
No, seriously.
And it's based on a real wrestler, too.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's for real.
What can I say about that movie? If we're trying to introduce Americans to the whole masked wrestler thing, that was the worst way to do it. I mean, it's a comedy. Jack Black is Jack Black. Need I say more? But I'm going to be straight up with you. I found it fun, too. It's just that, you know, if you want to introduce Americans to that sort of thing, that was not the way to do it.
I hear you.
Okay, and I know there are some,
I
know some people out there are thumbing their nose at me for saying that, but I'm sorry, that's how I feel.
Oh, that's cool. Don't worry about that.
Well, these are a lot of good movies, but I must say, I think you forgot about one.
Okay, and, what would that be?
I think you didn't mention the Neutron movies. Why not?
Neutron, the Atomic Superman? There's a reason for that. I mean, though Neutron dresses like a luchador, and his fighting style is that of a luchador, he really isn't a Mexilucha hero. He isn't a wrestler who happens to save the world between matches. He's more of a straight-up superhero.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for a wrestling film, he's not really a wrestler. You're right. He's a superhero.
He's never, like, as I said, saving the world between wrestling matches. But I love the Neutron series. Has one of my favorite lines in it. The villain, Dr. Karante, takes on a new minion. Of course, this fellow doesn't think of himself as a minion. He thinks he's Dr. Karante's partner, and Karante's having no part of it. So the guy says to Karante, says, look, you know me, who I am, but I don't know who you are behind the mask. And Karante does the last person to find out, to know who I was behind this mask is now dead. And so the guy's like, oh, well, I didn't mean any harm, sir. Yeah. But he then says, it's only logical if we're going to be working together that... Karante's just so irritated with him. He goes, logic? Do you see any logic in any of this? I mean, the dude has a dungeon/laboratory in his basement, and I can see his point. What's logical here? I'm nuts. Okay, so, yeah, I love the Neutron series, but I just don't consider it a masked wrestler.
What about you, Vance? Do you have any opinions on the matter?
Yes, Vance, what about you?
I enjoy watching the Neutron movies for what they are. They're superhero movies, plain and simple. Yeah. It's almost like watching the Turkish superhero films. It's just a good romp, have some fun, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, well, I wanted to thank you guys for being on the show today, and I look forward to having you guys back soon.
Okay.
Speaking of masked wrestlers, there's a character called Mr. Incognito, which can be found in Judo Comics. Judo Comics is available at lulu.com. You can also pick up this awesome Dr. Judo t-shirt featuring the superhero Dr. Judo from Judo Comics #1 at teepublic.com.
And he and Mr. Incognito are actual masked wrestlers.
From the comic.
Yes.
No films yet, though.
Soon.
Soon. Yes, soon.
Okay, there we go.